Hey everybody, it's Professor Snart checking in here. Hope you're having a good day. I think the last time I recorded a video, it was like 95 degrees and 134% humidity outside, and now it feels like it's 60 and raining. So there you go. It is Thursday afternoon when I'm recording this, so we are just coming up the end of our main due date for unit number 3. We'll have a turnaround for replies, and then we get into kind of the two-part unit 4 here. You'll see how the parts work together in just a second. But I think unit 4 is actually the most or the least labor intensive of all of the units that we do. And if you think about it, it's hard to believe, but as we come into unit 4, we're really sort of in week 4 of the term. And if you're in a 16-week course, it probably doesn't feel like you're that deep into it, but that puts us almost, halfway through our 8-week term here. So it really moves pretty quickly. And like I've said, you're probably noticing this anyways, but especially as we get into 3, 4, and into 5, right? All of the units sort of scaffold or stack on top of each other. So, the work is separated kind of by due date or by unit, but it's going to feel like one kind of cohesive project that you're working on. So we're going to take a quick look backwards at unit 3 just to see where we were, and then into unit 4 and the second part here, and I'll kind of nod towards the student conferences that are coming up in a little while. Okay, so unit 3 really had us starting the fine print project. You're finding that fine print to work with. You're beginning the annotated bibliography, which obviously we're going to build out as we go here. So really the two parallel writing assignments that we're doing that are the core of our class, the professional email that's going to be built off of the fine print that you're finding, and then the annotated bibliography. The unit 4 that we're looking at right now, or that I'll look at in a second, but that we're into right now, will have us actually writing that professional email, at least a first draft of it. For unit 3 then, we're concluding by building out our portfolio, and remember that you want to visit other people's sites so you can see the fine print that they've chosen, their sort of rationale behind it, but also some of the ways that people have done some background or related research. So with the comment feature here, it's always interesting, to provide some feedback to people, maybe possible directions to go or encouragement for work that you think looks really promising or really interesting. But you can also sometimes learn some strategies from directions that people have taken or types of sources they might have included in their bibliography or whatever. So you're both providing feedback, but you might actually be learning something by visiting and looking at people's work to this point as well. All right, just a reminder, it's really important that you have your documents shared correctly so that when I either go to grade them right in a discussion board, or what's going to happen here, I'm going to access your materials just like other people will through your portfolio. It needs to be shared and available so that it shows correctly on the portfolio. Otherwise, I can visit your portfolio site, I can see that correctly, but where your document should be, it just says something like access denied or request permission or whatever. And then it's sort of a hassle for me to contact you. You have to figure out what's wrong. You have to contact me back. It sort of throws a bit of a wrench into things. So make sure you're sharing your documents correctly. And that's going to be super important for unit number 4, unit number 4 here, where you're actually writing your professional email, at least a first draft of it based on the fine print. So we have, I think, what will probably feel like a really long time, especially in our compressed 8 weeks here, for you to write what we've already learned in previous research should be a very, not a very short, but a relatively short document. So we don't want like a 3-page email. That's going to break all the rules of what we learned an effective professional email should be. It has to be more than like a sentence, right? But it's not going to be this multi-page thing where you're quoting from sources and doing all this other stuff. That's not going to work for this rhetorical situation. We are going to be actually sending this to someone, right? Not in this unit, but later. So we need to think about what moves can we make as we create these in terms of formatting, tone, accuracy, all of that stuff that make us appear credible and professional. So we improve the chances of getting not just a response, but like a substantial response, a useful one to the questions or the concerns that we're voicing here. So the only thing that you have to do for this particular unit, all of the unit, is write a first draft of your professional email. What I feel like is sort of like extra time that we have, or the ample time we have, it is built sort of as a buffer. So if you're still unsure about your fine print, or you get some feedback from Unit 3 that you're unsure of, you still have some time to contact me. The document that you're producing, so we're going to start in a Google Doc, even though eventually we'll cut and paste into an actual email program. The document you create is going to be relatively short, but it should still reflect sufficient time on task that it's a draft, but it's not just a first draft that took you 5 minutes to write. You should write it, you should leave it, you should come back to it, you should do some editing, all of the stages that we want to go through to produce what you feel like is a pretty good professional email that then we can move on to part 2 of Unit 4, which I'll look at in just a sec, to get some feedback from your group. So when you go into this discussion board to post the URL to the new Google Doc that you're creating here, you'll notice that you're already in a group. Each of the groups has a thread. If there's an issue, you don't see your name, or there's some other problem that comes up, you can let me know and I'll take a look right away. But we're going to use those groups in the next unit that I'll look at. So when you craft your email, I've made some really generic reminders here about sort of pieces, right, to think about. But really what you want to be doing is applying your research from earlier about what, right, makes an effective email, how to do it, the formatting part, tips, what to avoid, that kind of stuff, from the sources that you found. That I think it was in Unit 2 that you say this is a good source. Use that research material, go back to it. It's not a massive endeavor. You're not reading like a 30-page journal article. But it should be work that you've done for the course already that's now sort of informing the work that you're doing for Unit 4. So that's pretty low impact given the amount of time that we have to do this. So I'm really looking for the investment of time, so it doesn't feel like this is just thrown together and posted at the last minute and then you just hope for the best. And again, make sure that your document is shared so people can comment, because that's what we're going to do next. And if there's a sort of delay because we realize it's not shared properly, and then I'm emailing you, you're trying to fix it, you're emailing me, you're maybe reposting the link, etc., your group mates are confused. We just want to be really careful about sharing that document correctly. Okay, so that's all of Unit 4, just to take another quick look at our due dates here. So that's Unit 4, taking us all the way to Thursday the 20th. Again, it's going to feel like more time than you probably need. Taking us to to the 13th. Again, going to feel like more time than you need, but that sets us up to get back into developing our bibliography a little more, and then the feedback component that will happen in Unit 4, Part 2, which I'm going to look at in just a sec here. Okay, so same discussion board. You'll notice if you click into it after we're done that first part of Unit 4, it's everyone's posts are still there. So that's what we're going to get back into. So here you're going to be providing some comments to the folks from your group who posted their draft email. We're going to actually use the comment function in Google, so you're not just typing a paragraph like at the end. You highlight a word, a phrase, a little piece. Don't highlight the whole thing. That kind of screws it up for everyone else. Use the little plus button, do your comment, and again, I'll come back as we get closer to this and talk about kind of the nature of this commenting, but this is where you're going to get some feedback on your email that you'll be able to incorporate before we actually send it, which is sort of the next part after this. So this is getting really far into the future of our course. You're going to be completing your annotated bibliography, filling out the sources so you have a full 10. We're going to say that 3 of those 10 have to be from academic databases. We want to make sure that we've used MLA formatting to cite or to format our sources. And then, of course, the substantial annotation, or that well-developed paragraph that goes along summarizing the source, providing maybe a flavor of the examples that are used, or some of the evidence or specifics. Again, it's hard to say exactly because everyone's sources tend to be a little bit different. And then, as usual, updating your portfolio. So that gets us, a couple weeks out in our due dates list. I am going to go back here, though, And just draw your attention to one of the things that's coming up right a couple weeks from now, after we've gone through the drafting phase, the feedback phase, building out the bibliography. There is a mandatory student conference that is part of our class, even though we're online. We can do it face-to-face, we can do it virtually. If there's a time that's listed on the sign-up sheet that doesn't work because you've got a schedule or whatever, just let me know. But I'm going to suggest, especially because we have some buffer built in here, that you should jump in here now and take a look at the schedule. Let me know if what I've laid out doesn't work. Or even if something here does work, if you prefer to meet with me in this week because it's a lot more open, then by all means let me know, and you can sort of get this part of the thing out of the way. We can look at your draft of your email, we can talk about the fine print, but we can do that. Just because it's listed here doesn't mean we're necessarily locked into it. We're not going to do it later, but again, especially because we have a lot of extra time built into the Unit 4 Part 1 that we're in right now. If you want to reach out to me and do the student conference, again, face-to-face, virtually, however you want, let's take care of that now and kind of use that buffer time to our advantage, okay? But certainly be looking at that and planning for it, because it is a part of what we're doing, and an important part. The opportunity to talk about the writing that you've done, getting it into the best shape possible. So once we do send out that email, we've really improved the chances of, we hope, getting a response. All right. And then you can see, I'm getting really far ahead of us, but thinking about this Unit 4 is kind of our midterm point. After that, it's just a few weeks and our 8-week term is wrapped up. I know it often doesn't feel like it's moving that quickly, but it really is. All right, so keep on target then with our due dates, reading units and assignments carefully, making sure you're following directions, getting everything done by those due dates, remembering to do those reply components. That back and forth, I think, is a really important part of our class. And then sharing your documents correctly so that people aren't having a challenge getting into them, or they're not showing up correctly on your portfolio page, for example. And then again, any questions, concerns, anything that's coming up for you, by all means, be in touch with me, and I will try to get back with you, as soon as I can. Okay? Have a good day, have a good weekend, and I will talk with everybody pretty soon.